Good day, colleagues. This is Matt Peters from the Utah Geospatial Resource Center, and I'm here with
Greg Bunce from the Utah Geospatial Resource Center as well.
Oh, funny, we're from the same place. Well, today I thought we want to kind of tell you kind of a smattering of things happening at UGRC. Kind of give you a progress report. We've got a lot of different things going on, and as you remember, last time we talked about this guy Maslow and his hierarchy of needs, and we feel like, okay, we've went through a lot of things, we've done a lot of stuff. Now we're ready for this larger mission, and we have a strategic plan that we've been following. You know, it came from Applied Geographics or AppGeo in Boston. Even Bill Johnson had a hand in it, if that doesn't make you shake in your shoes. And so we're trying to now appeal to our new customers in new ways, old customers in new ways, and seek out like these pockets in the state of GIS need. We're getting past our normal suspects. Let's move on to
before we begin, though, I need to clear the air of something. I don't know if everyone watched our roll call, but Matt was showing off all of his fortunes with hats. But I need to clear the air. I might not be past the threshold of affording a hat, but I just wanted to make it known that Matt actually did buy me a hat. So his kind heart, put me in this beautiful hat today.
Perfect.
So anyway, I just needed to get that off my chest.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah, keep it on your head, not on your chest. So a real focus for me as we look into the future is where do we grow? Who are these new folks that we're trying to help with GIS? And we got a new name now. It's pretty recognizable. We use terms, that are recognizable. So just for fun, new logo, we're really trying to interact with state, local, federal folks. We got a podcast out there, and we have a newsletter too, of course, and just trying to kind of hit the reset button and see what we can do. So one of the new things that we are doing is we've kind of revived the council, the Utah Geographic Information Systems Advisory Council, and also have created a variety of committees under that council to handle a wide range of things. If none of you have talked to Tim from North Carolina, you should, because we patterned some of what Utah is doing now after what Tim has done in North Carolina. And it seems like the folks I've asked to be head of some of the committees are very enthusiastic about it and really look forward to it. So I'm hoping it's a good thing. Also, what I'm trying to do is also see if there's an appetite to have an executive committee of executives. So like the head of natural resources or their designee and different folks out there looking at what the governor wants to do. The governor has published a One Utah roadmap. So thinking about if the governor wants to have a certain focus, agency heads should have focuses that help with that, and the GIS is a supportive role, should support those efforts. And so I'm hoping that we can gain some traction in that realm. So Greg, I think maybe you should take it away.
Yeah, so we're also kind of moving along in a similar path here, giving you the update on what's happening at UGRC. We always like to talk about the State Geographic Information Database, the SGID as we call it. And you know, it feels just like yesterday that we were celebrating 25 years, but in fact, now we're celebrating 30 years, 1991. And a heck of a lot has happened with that database in those 30 years. But one of the things that Matt and I talk about often is data maturity and how you can do so much more when the data gets mature. And I feel like these past couple of years, we've really upped it. A couple rungs up the ladder here in data maturity, which is allowing us to do a lot more. And just a couple of the highlights. Now we're kind of looking at data tiers. So we have over 300 layers in there. We don't host all of them, but they're in the catalog, so to speak. And we have like a matrix now that looks at data tiers. That says, is this a tier 1 data set? And if it is, it should have metadata, quality checks on it, should be running, on an automated basis. Does it support decision making? Things such as this. It kind of helps us hone in on what to expect out of a layer. And we're going down to the tiers. For 4 tiers, we're going down to. When we see a tier 4 data set, I think that helps set the expectation of the data when you see that. But when you see a tier 1, you're going to have a higher level of expectation. You're going to expect it to be updated often. That kind of flows into now we have automated validation running constantly on all of the data in the data in our database. All the data sets in our database. And kind of the big thing there that just happened recently is now it's smart enough to know if a data set changed in the database, there's change detection running nightly or earlier in the evening, which then informs the automated checks then to kick in and check for things such as null geometries, just basic, simple checks. Does it have metadata? Things like that. So just to make sure that we're offering good quality, duplicates of the data. We're continuing to ingest agency data. This is something you may remember from another presentation a few years ago, but it's something we set out to do and we're continuing to do. In fact, just yesterday we were meeting with another agency to integrate another layer. And what that does is it helps us pull it out of our database that we're hosting it in. And it takes out that back and forth of did you give us the updates, passing data back and forth, and it just puts the responsibility on the steward, and we just serve it through our open data hub, the Esri Hub portal. And that works great because the end user just sees a seamless catalog of data. The thing though that came up today, because we're applying a layer in a map that's used in voting and elections, but it's being hosted by a different agency. And I think the thing to remember there is, we have policies in place and we have, agreements and handshakes and such, but the communication is what's huge there. I think we can't forget to communicate and reach back and say, we're building applications and systems around these data sets that you're hosting. And we need to keep good communication with you guys to make sure that we have expectations that it's going to be there. There's not going to be any breaking changes on the layer. So I think that's the biggest thing with the ingesting agency data is staying up to date with the folks and having good communication with them. Matt mentioned already kind of the One Utah roadmap from the governor, so I won't go too into that, but that's kind of driving a lot of the layers that we want to bring into the tier 1 category that we're maintaining that support this effort by the governor. And then real quick, we did some numbers a few years ago on we started moving everything to the cloud and ArcGIS Online and our open SGID, which is a post-GIS, post-GREASE database. So back then we gave some numbers that were, we were getting about in the post-GIS database, we were getting about 25 to 35 connections a day. And right now we're up to about 110 connections a day. So definitely an increase there. And then we gave some stats on ArcGIS Online. We had address points. And at that point, we were getting around 6,000 average requests a day over a 30-day period. And we're all the way up to 44,000 average requests a day. And for county boundaries, we gave some stats there. We were getting about 12,000 requests a day. And now we're up to 34,000 requests a day there. So really the takeaway is that this stuff is getting used. And I think we're moving in the right direction. with that. Also, moving to the cloud. So many of the things we're trying to process, not necessarily just store data in the cloud, but also move processing and services and how we crunch scripts and code in the cloud. So we moved the license manager, our Esri license manager now sits in the cloud. We're able to save some money on just getting rid of an on-prem machine. Virtual machines and desktop as a service. This is something that's kind of happening right now. And really what it is we're building desktops that sit in the cloud, and it allows us just to connect to them quickly when needed, because most of us are, well, all of us are still working from home. And going over the VPN is kind of a pain in the butt. So this allows us just to connect into a desktop. It's got all the GIS software we need, connections to all the databases we need, and just run code, run processes really fast, like we're sitting in the office, and then just drop off of it. Eventually, maybe this moves us into a situation where we could, get less powerful machines. We'll see where that goes. As Matt likes to say, this is looking at a new paradigm shift, and we're at the beginning of that shift. Just a quick story on that. I was out working remotely in a different state, and I was trying to run something, remotely and over the VPN, and it kept on erroring out after 12 hours because our VPN connection is 12 hours. Had I had this desktop machine, which we do have now, running that, I could run that anywhere, and it took 10 minutes. So I think that's kind of a success story there and a perfect use case for this stuff. Elections and voting, we're definitely moving ahead in these in these arenas. We've taken pretty good steps, significant steps, probably since the last couple of NSGIC conferences. There's a new vendor we're using, or the state is using, to manage the database. But more importantly, we're doing so much more with the GIS data. We're running daily validations against address points and voting precincts. This helps us find the gaps and overlaps. We're looking for duplicate addresses on a daily basis as well in the address point data. And this basically helps us to, say, hey, do we have addresses that are in different precincts? There might not be a voter there now, but there's the potential of a voter moving into that address, and that's an issue. Recently just finished a voter count tool for the counties who are doing re-precincting. This kind of just helps them, as they re-precinct, they draw the polygons, and then they can click this tool, this button, and it hits the state database of registered voters, and it says, this proposed precinct that you're working with has X amount of voters in it. So it helps them kind of adjust them if they're looking to hit certain numbers. And then lastly with this, we've done a lot more partnering with the Utah Policy Institute here to help serve some of the redistricting data that's coming out. And I should also put a shout out to the Wasatch Front Regional Council, who's also helped us serve some of this new census data up. So partnering there to make data available. Next generation 911. You've heard us talk about this forever, and at this point, it's almost, we're exhausted on this. But the good news is we actually are finally now, we have good, we have information to report that we are moving forward. We're working closely with the UCA, the Utah Communications Authority, and call routing now is starting to get implemented probably by the time NSGIC is happening. It's supposedly the week of, I think September 21st, we're going to call route the first call on, using 911 and GIS data. And then we'll roll out a PSAP a month until March 2022. So the GIS data is now getting used to do this. So this is big news for us. Call handling about a month ago, early August, some of the PSAPs started using our web services, and they're all using the same data. They're all using the same maps now to basically as they process calls in the PSAP. So big strides there. And then just, data validation, we're continuing with that. I'm not going to go too bogged down with that, but that's always bettering the data on all fronts. 911 has stringent requirements, but also all the other avenues that we use the data and benefit from that. And 911, as everyone knows, it's helped us better collaborate with the stewards, and that's still true. That was a lot.
I should say so. Yeah. Well, let me tell you a little bit about where we are with imagery. I guess, for you Easterners may not have a good handle, but out in the West, the place has been burning to the ground, and it's really hampered our imagery collection efforts. We're under contract to get a 6-inch statewide flight, and it's been delayed, though by the time you're listening to this, we may have it. The fires have calmed a bit. As most of you know, we use app geo appliance called Giza to serve that out to folks as a WMS or WMTS. But soon, this is the last year of our contract. We need to rethink, relook, revisit. Even if we stayed the same as we are, we just need to look around because there's so many changes and so many different vendors. But at the moment, within the state of Utah, most folks are happy with the frequency and the resolution of the imagery we're receiving now. Though I did speak with emergency service folks, the Division of Emergency Management, and they were trying to figure out kind of where does work with a drone change to aerial imagery for a disaster, and kind of understanding the players in the drone world in Utah and how it could be best coordinated and used. Also, as most of you are working on LiDAR, we are working on LiDAR. Though we're a little bit out of sync at the moment with our big partner, that usually we use their money to get the match through the 3DEP program. We do have our most populous county, Salt Lake County, as they're due for another LiDAR flight, and our issue now is just deciding whether we should try to move ahead with money that we can scrape up with partners. Should we wait, get our main partner with 3DEP funding? So a variety of things in that nature, and also seeing what happens with a gypsy contractor for NRCS or others. But we kind of it always seems to be better, keep the partners to a minimum with deep pockets so you don't have to do as much coordination efforts. But we'll see how that goes. But we're also curious, I'm curious if any states, if anybody can reach out and tell us if they've received any ARPA funding for LiDAR, or if there's a mechanism for that. I'm curious, just with all these millions of dollars floating around, how can we as a GIS community get our hooks in some of that?
Hey, Matt, did you use any ARPA funding to purchase that disco ball that you have that every once in a while during a meeting you turn on?
No, it wasn't, the ARPA funds are actually they're very tightly managed and watched, and it did not qualify for the ARPA funding.
Okay.
But luckily, it was cheap, and I was able to just purchase it on my own and have everyone enjoy it. So that's another thing.
And I do enjoy that. I just wanted that to be known.
Okay. So I guess there's, to kind of, I guess, to wrap this up, to talk about takeaways, what I feel like. So I feel like as though our outreach efforts are paying off. I've done outreach to executive folks and actually had them come back and say, hey, we talked and we'd really like to do this. Whether it's something simple like showing the state-run liquor stores on a map with additional information, whether it was showing zip codes and the number of rental assistance grants that they received. The council, with all these committees being formed now, I feel will be a real force. And I think that I'm going to, as more executive management kind of comes up to speed on the governor's goals, that we'll be able to leverage some of those efforts to show the importance of geospatial data. And I think that that's kind of where the data maturity starts to pay off, when the CIO can come to us and say, hey, can you tell me where there are state parks that are within X miles of fiber for broadband or just broadband? So there's just, as your data is mature, you can just answer more questions. And it's always very impressive for the GIS folks to be able to just turn around and say, oh yeah, we can give you that answer in X hours or X minutes. That type of thing.
On a similar note, I agree, because you think of the road centerline data set that we have, and it's great as it is, but the fact that we have a network data set as well. We can only have a network data set because the road network is mature. We had someone come in and ask, can you give us the distance between all the employees that are working from home and the office? And these are questions because of the data maturity. Is that where it's at? The answer is yes, we can do that.
And also, I think that, with the advisory council, the GIS advisory council, I think we have a chance to raise up the whole GIS community and not just individuals within it. But I think that if we can build people up in their professional life, their endeavors, we can build up new clients, new, different agencies that aren't traditional GIS users. I feel like this is kind of this base we're trying to build, so people will go, yeah, we know what geospatial is. We don't use it every day, but when we need it, we know who to speak to and we know what to expect. And I think that will help us in the future to receive additional funding. Because I think you got to remember that GIS is a business support function, and we got to figure out how to leverage it in the various businesses of state government to accomplish goals and to support operations. So, Greg, that's kind of all I have today. Do you have anything more to add?
No, I think right along those lines, exactly what you said. Because of voting in public safety and things like that, we get some funding through there that we're able to better these data sets and integrate them into larger systems and into many other scenarios. That's opening lots of other doors. I think that's essentially what you were saying as well, and I think that's true. My other question, I guess, is are hot dogs greasy? Because I'm looking at that photo and I don't know what's coming off the side of that building. Is that water or is that just grease pouring out of that little factory?
Well, I think maybe we should ask Frank, because that's up in Frank's area, not quite. This is Gus's in Troy. I actually went there years ago, and yeah, it made my stomach a little queasy.
Well, I think that's probably a good closing. We'll ask Frank. Maybe Frank will have some commentary on this.
Yep, that sounds great. Well, thanks everybody for your time, and always, reach out to us. mpeters@utah.gov, gbunce@utah.gov. Though you might want to call us and ask for Greg Bunce.
Ooh, I have nothing to add there.
Okay, see you guys.
See you, everybody.